We now want to look at managing employee retention. Once employers understand the reasons for staff turnover, they may introduce methods to retain the staff. There's a whole variety of ways about going about this, a whole variety of ways of trying to encourage staff to stay on. For a start, losing staff is expensive. New staff have to be recruited. That's expensive. They have to be trained. They have to know about the processes of the business, the culture of the business, how the business runs and is organized. They have to learn the personalities of the people they're working with. And they're also inefficient at the start because they're just learning how to do the particular task. It could be in administration or it could be on the shop floor, but they're just learning, and it takes them some time to get up to speed, to acquire the skills to be completely efficient. So reducing turnover is an important issue for businesses. You'll see from other videos that there are some advantages. For example, new staff coming in to replace the ones who have left, maybe enthusiastic and keen and maybe very interested with new ideas. But it depends on the tasks they're asked to complete. If the task they're completing is monotonous and extremely boring, they may lose their enthusiasm and they may want to leave as well. And also, high staff turnover looks bad. It looks bad for the business. It looks like there is something wrong with the management. The management are not able to retain staff. There is something wrong. The remuneration is not sufficient, or the conditions are bad, or the style of management is inappropriate. There could be something wrong. One way of trying to reduce staff turnover is by job enrichment. Now, employees are less likely to exit a job if there are opportunities for career development. If they can see an opportunity in the future of moving or getting promotion or even moving sidewards, moving to a different task that's more interesting, more challenging, they may be more prepared to stay on, less likely to leave. That's a possibility. The job should be fulfilling. The job should be interesting. Humans don't want to be seen as part of the production process. We're human beings. We want to have a job that's interesting, that engages us. We don't want to be a cog in a machine. We don't want to just do a repetitive process over and over and over. And we're only doing it because there is no machine currently on the market that does it. And we know ultimately we will be replaced by some robot or some mechanized piece of equipment that will perform the function a lot faster and a lot more efficiently than us. There is no pleasure in thinking about ourselves in that way. So the job must be fulfilling. It must recognize us as individuals and give us some sort of psychological payback. We want our capabilities to be extensively utilized. Generally speaking, as humans, we're able to do several things. We're not just single task individuals. We can be trained to do several things. So we want to be engaged in a way that we're able to use several of our faculties and use a range of skills, or be trained to use a range of skills. This makes our lives more interesting. We don't want to go to work every day to stand in the corner making something which is small and insignificant and extremely boring, and do it day in, day out, and see that as the rest of our lives. We want praise and reward and positive feedback. We want to be recognized. We're humans and we want to be recognized. When we've done something, we want someone to say, well done, that was a good job, you've done really well, congratulations, thank you. that makes us feel wanted. We've been recognized for what we've done. And these are all part of the job enrichment ideas, making the job wider and bigger and more interesting, and respecting what we do, and giving us an opportunity to have a more interesting working experience. Now, the methods of reducing turnover, well, in Griffiths and Home 2001, the reference for this, you can check it out online yourselves. It'll crop up in other videos and we'll be talking about it in seminars and so on. But for the moment, in this paper, they introduced a guide to managing turnover, and they described 9 factors employers need to consider. I'm going to look at these 9 factors, but I just want to say at the start that 6 of them, the first 6, are particularly important, and there's been quite a bit of work done on the first 6. The last 3, a little bit more speculative, and more research needs to be conducted to get greater insights into the last 3. But nonetheless, let's look at the 9 and see what they have to say. The first one is, have realistic job previews. When people apply for work, they need to have the job description. They need to know what is expected of them. And they need to self-appraise. They need to look at themselves and think, can I do that job? Would I be happy to do that job? Will that job give me both remuneration, which is what I want? I need to pay the bills at the end of the month and look after my family, etc. Will it do that, and will it also give me some sort of satisfaction? As a human, will I feel fulfilled in doing this activity? So there needs to be a realistic job appraisal. And what sort of job enrichment? Now, I just talked about job enrichment a second back, but what is the view of management towards job enrichment? If the task is very small and repetitive and very monotonous, what is the management view of that? How are they going to allow it to be, or are they going to try and introduce other aspects of work which will break up the day, which will make the day more interesting? So what sort of job enrichment will there be? And what's the working space like? What's the environment like? Is it dark, polluted, dusty, dirty, noisy? Or is it bright and airy and pleasant? It's important. We're asking people to go and spend their working lives there. We're asking them to spend 37 or 40 or maybe 45 hours a week in this environment. It's a long time. So what's the environment like? And what training is there? What induction practices? Will the management take time to train them properly? Will the management take time to explain health and safety issues and go across all of the requirements of the job and all of the support that they can expect? And are the line managers friendly, and are they supportive? And what sort of exchange can there be between the leader and the member? What sort of communications channels are there between the worker and the line manager or the departmental manager? What sort of connection have they got? How do they communicate? Is it formally, or is it in a friendly, more supportive manner? What is the relationship? That needs to be specified. People need to know what that is. And when there is inter-role conflict, when there is conflict about the job itself, about what the people are doing, or the number of rejects that were made, or errors that were made in the office by the person working in the office, or when there are issues of that nature, How are they handled? Does it mean that the person who made the errors, they need more training? Was there something going on that was not completely understood? Was it down to carelessness? If they were careless, then why were they careless? What caused it? Was it because the job was monotonous and they just were not thinking? We're not thinking because it's the same task over and over. Is that the case? If it is, then what can be done about it? Back to job enrichment, perhaps. People may need training to be able to work with different personalities within the workplace. There may be demographic diversity, people from different races and different parts of the world, perhaps speaking different languages and with different cultural traditions. Now, on the one hand, that makes working life more interesting. There are many other things to talk about. It's not such a boring environment. But in terms of communications, there may be issues. And it's important that there's ongoing training and support for all the staff to accommodate each other and to enable them to work together harmoniously. What reward practices are in place? There could be bonuses, and there could be different remuneration packages for different tasks. And there are also contentious ones. The situation where two people do essentially the same task and get paid differently. They have the same responsibilities, the same tasks, the same duties. This could apply in a gender context, male and female. Perhaps the females get paid less. There's no logical reason for it. There's no way of arguing the case, but it could happen, and there have been cases which have come to the fore that illustrate this. But is that a failure of management? What causes it? And what can be done to eradicate it? If two people are doing the same task, performing the same functions, working efficiently, then what is the reason for different remuneration? So what are the payment or reward practices? Are they fairly distributed? And are they seen to be fairly distributed? Because this will affect motivation, and it'll affect retention rates. Employee selection itself. How are the employees selected? What criteria was used in the selection process? What procedures had to be undertaken? Was the job clearly specified? Was there clear understanding of the job and the requirements of the tasks that would confront the worker if they accepted the position? Was it clear? So there are issues about the employee selection. Now, as I said, the last three there, more work needs to be done to deal with this. Although the rewards practices one and the discrimination that I talked about in terms of rewards based on gender, or could be based on race or whatever, this occasionally does come into the news, and we hear of cases related to this. But essentially more work needs to be done, and more evidence collected, and policies developed that will counter this sort of behaviour. Now, the conclusion: well, managers can retain their employees if they have an understanding of the cost involved in the employee turnover. Employee turnover is expensive. New workers have to be recruited. That's expensive. They have to be trained. That's expensive. They have to be inducted into the business and get to know the personalities in the business. They also have to acquire the efficiencies of performing the task. That'll take time. So it's expensive. And for that reason, effort should be made to retain the staff. It's important to find out why staff are leaving. An exit interview may be a good idea, to ask people why they're leaving. They could leave for a variety of reasons, not simply because the task is boring or it's a small task, or they don't like the line manager, or they don't like the policy of the business, or whatever. It could be that it's simply the family who want to move away. They want to move away from the area, move to a different location, or it could be the individual wants to do something, fulfill an ambition. They want to walk around the world. They want to do something. So people leave for a variety of reasons, but it's important to find out why. And if it's something that was caused by management or by the conditions in which the person found him or herself working, then some remedial action could be taken. Applying appropriate retention strategies is perhaps easier said than done, but having collected the information, it's important that the management act on the information. Otherwise, it's a situation that will continue to happen into the future. There'll be high turnover and the business will have a bad reputation. It'll be seen as a badly managed business. Employees are more likely to stay with an organisation if they are positively motivated to work. Now that could be related to remuneration, to pay. Or it could be a nice working environment, a friendly working environment. It could be that they see the management as supportive and everyone's on the same side, everyone's pulling together. It's a team effort. So if they're positively motivated, they're more likely to stay. They do need to have a good relationship with managers, and they need to be able to communicate clearly and openly with the managers. It's important that they should have that channel of communication. And as I said earlier, they must feel valued as a part of the team. They must feel that they are making a contribution and they deserve respect from their colleagues, and they need to be praised. They need to be, it needs to be said out loud that they have done a good job and be recognized for what they've done. And it's important also that they are trusted. They are trusted to do the work and do it honestly, openly, fairly, and deal with their colleagues on the same way. And they must be reliable. They perhaps could take on extra responsibilities and be able to do extra tasks in return for extra remuneration, but they are trusted. They are the bedrock of the business. And if there are future career developments, then looking to colleagues and members of staff within the organisation may be a good starting point, because they know the organisation, they know the culture, they know the product, they know perhaps the customers or what the customers' requirements are. They have history with the business, and they may be better positioned to take on extra responsibilities in the future. That's a source that may be worth looking at, and as I said, working online to find out sources of information on this is a good idea. Do some of your own research. But for the moment, that's all I'm going to do on this part of managing employee retention. So I'm going to say thank you for watching.